All right, everybody. Good late afternoon now. We are switching over to the defense for Pro Football Focus. We're looking at the defense for the Seahawks, see how they graded things out, see how they feel about this team, how they feel about these players. Again, not saying they're always going to get it right, not saying they're always going to get it wrong, just looking at the work that they do. Please like this video if you haven't already. Click the thumbs up button, helps the channel out. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help out. All right, so the defense, the shading's pretty good, right? You've got a lot of players in the green. More than half of the players that played are green. You got a little bit more in the average area, and then you've got at the very bottom here some players they really didn't care for, which we'll get to that. Yeah, looking at the overall picture here on the defensive side of the ball. You've got one guy who is head and shoulders above everybody else, and this is the unsung hero. This is the guy you would not have expected maybe to be here, but here he is, Jarran Reed. He's been he's been a snap eater this year. He's been good in some games. There have been some games where maybe not so much, but he's been there for us, grinding away, doing what he can, trying to find a way to contribute to this team positively. He doesn't have the ability to be an elite player anymore. He doesn't have the ability to be a great player anymore, but he has his moments. And this week against the Cardinals, they said he was our best defensive player. And when you take a look at some of the plays that he made for this team, I'm not against the evaluation. I think that this probably was one of his best games. And I do think there was a lot of positivity to take away from his game. I don't know if he was our best player, but I get it, so good for Jarran Reed. And then you've got Rayshawn Jenkins, of all people, in second place. Now, Rayshawn only played about a little more than a third of the game, so it's a little bit different for him. He just has to be efficient, and his grade is obviously going to be pushed up significantly by the fact that he recorded a sack on the final play of the game. Still, though, good game for Rayshawn. Even if you take out the sack, he was graded out pretty well. So that's pretty cool to see. You've got Kobe Bryant getting the bronze medal here with a good grade. Makes sense. Yeah, the interception. He did allow a touchdown. He did get burned in coverage on the first drive, but after that, pretty good, pretty solid, pretty effective. Tyrese Knight, I thought he did play really well. Really liked what I saw from him. PFF agrees. They graded him well. Reek Woolen, another well-graded game. And well-graded mostly not because of coverage stuff, because we'll get to this later. He actually got beat up a little bit in coverage, so it wasn't just the pure coverage. It is other elements as well, which is big, because that's the area where Woolen needs to show some signs of life, I think, and he is. I don't know if I totally agree with PFF's evaluation here, but we are seeing something a little bit better from him compared to some weeks when it comes to things like tackling and coming up in run support. Leonard Williams played a good game. They gave him about a 70. I think he was better than this personally, but I understand no pressures, no sacks. You're only going to be able to go so far with that. This was one of the games where they felt like he was relatively a non-factor as a pass rusher. I think there were other areas where he excelled, but I get it. Josh Joby, well graded. Devin Witherspoon, well graded. Byron Murphy, this was one of the most impactful games for this Byron Murphy this season, especially as a pass rusher. Uchenna Nwosu didn't play a lot, but what he did was pretty credible. And again, this is a big deal here. Nwosu being able to provide even 25 decent snaps a game is going to go a long way. Julian Love, I kind of predicted this in my game day stream. I thought he was going to get really bad grades for run defense and tackling. I did, because I did notice early on he missed some tackles against the run that led to much bigger plays. And sure enough, that did ding him a little bit, but they liked his coverage, so he didn't do terribly. Mafe, about average, about average. Derek Hall, about average, which, by the way, I don't agree with this at all. I think Derek Hall drew, like, 3 holding penalties in this game. You should get a massive grade boost just from that. I don't agree with that. I think I can understand the Mafe thing, I guess, but to me, Derek Hall absolutely should be graded higher than this because of all the penalties he drew. Hankins, about average. And then you get to the 3 players they thought were actually bad or worse. Roy Robertson Harris, 52. Again, he's, and people get upset when I say this about him, but he's just a little jaggy. He's okay. You know, he holds up decently against the run. He's workable. He's playable. He's a little bit better than what we thought we were getting out of a Miles Adams or a Mike Morris, but there's not much special here. He's just a guy. I can't help but feel like you could have gotten something very similar out of the free agency pool instead of needing to make a trade for him, especially at this point where he's barely playing. Ernest Jones getting a really bad grade is really interesting because he kind of flipped the game with that interception. Like, that interception completely changed the tenor of that game, and they still thought he was just mediocre at best all around and not even mediocre. And then Draymond really got punished, mostly because he had no impact as a pass rusher, really. So definitely some interesting things going on here with the grading. It's mostly good. I definitely disagree with some of it. I have a very hard time saying that Ernest Jones should be getting a 52, not even a 52, when he makes maybe the most important play of the game. I understand he missed some tackles. And by the way, that's actually one thing that I like to look at here, the missed tackle count. It's above my head here. We have Kobe Bryant missing 1 tackle. Reek Woolen missed 1 tackle. Witherspoon missed 1 tackle. Julian Love missed 2. Ernest Jones missed 2. So only 7 total. Really not bad. Really not bad at all. A little better than I thought watching the game. Yeah, excuse me. But yeah, this is the thing that really stands out to me as that can't be right. I know our run defense was not that good. I know that the Cardinals ran the ball very effectively, but I have a hard time buying on this one. I think a part of it is the fact that in garbage time, Jones gave up a lot in coverage, but it's garbage time. Pro Football Focus, do your job. When it's garbage time, account for that. Don't tell me that the plays that come with 30 seconds left when we're up by 12 points matter as much as the plays in the first quarter. You know they don't. Everybody knows that. All right, so run defense stuff real quick. You can see that it's about an even mix of stuff that is good, okay, and bad. No one player really stood out as like a really quality stopping force against the run. Leonard Williams, though, is a defensive lineman having 2 stops, and I think he had 2 tackles for loss straight up. Really good. So even in a game where he didn't have a big impact rushing the passer, you still see his big positive impact. Byron Murphy as well, defensive lineman, 2 run stops, average depth of tackle is 1.5. And Ernest Jones, average depth of tackle 2.7 yards, only 3 tackles. I know it's not a lot, but how does this guy get a below average run defense grade? I know the Cardinals ran the ball well, but I don't know. I don't really understand that one. I don't really get that one. Like, you've got somebody like a Kobe Bryant who missed a tackle in run support, or maybe it wasn't run support. Maybe that's why it doesn't come up here. But like, I don't know. I don't get this one. I don't get the Ernest Jones thing. I get a little bit of it, but I definitely don't get all of it. All right, so nothing too remarkable here. Like, another example, look at Tyrese Knight. 3 run tackles, 7.7 average depth of tackle. He gets a better run grade than Ernest Jones. So I'm not saying there aren't other things that are considered, but this should be the main consideration, right? What do you do on plays where you get a run tackle? Okay, pass rush. Pass rush ends up looking pretty darn good at the end of the game, man. And watching them, I didn't think they were as good as they were in the first Cardinals game. This would tell you that it wasn't radically different. We had a team leading, and as a pass rusher, you could even call this a little bit of a breakout game for Byron Murphy. 4 pressures. Jarran Reed, 3 pressures, including a quarterback hit. Derek Hall, 3 pressures, including a quarterback hit. By the way, he drew holding penalties in this game. Like I said, I think there were like 3 of them. And I know he had a penalty of his own, but to me, those holding calls are, I mean, they're not as good as a sack, but they're close, right? So I look at this and I go, maybe there should be some sort of understanding that, yeah, 3 pressures, but it was really more like 6 because of the holding penalties he drew. Because I don't think they account for that. At least not in the raw numbers. Maybe they do in the grading, but if so, I think this grade should be higher, even with the penalty. Like I said, Jarran Reed with 3 pressures, which was the main motor of his really strong grade. We had BruÄ Mafe with 2 pressures. Hankins had the sack. Ernest Jones finally got a pressure. Probably won't show up on PFR, but he gets it on PFF. Nwosu had a QB hit, so welcome back, Uchenna. And Witherspoon coming in off the blitz. So the things that really stand out here would be nothing for Leonard Williams and nothing for Draymond. Those are 2 guys that have really been putting in the numbers as rushers lately, so that's surprising. It's also kind of encouraging that we still had a pretty good pass rush despite that. So I'm not sitting here and saying like it's bad news. It's probably good news. We can't expect those guys to be Supermen every single week. This week, Byron Murphy was Superman for maybe the first time in his career as a pass rusher. So I'll take that. I take that all day. So definitely cool stuff going on here. Coverage stuff, a little bit messy in some areas, but it's important to parse through it and really understand context. Like Kobe Bryant, yeah, the 41-yard touchdown definitely drags down his numbers a little bit. Tyrese Knight was given the touchdown where James Conner caught the underhanded flip, which I'm just going to say it right now. I have a really hard time saying that Tyrese Knight did anything wrong on that play. So I know the numbers are going to say one thing, but to me, that's just like, that's basically a trick play where nobody's in coverage. So I can't really put that on Knight. I don't see how anybody could say that Tyrese Knight did anything all that wrong on that play. So I'm going to just go ahead and say that. And also, if you look at the numbers, really, 35 yards is a lot to give up in coverage, but it was 8 targets. That's actually really inefficient for the offense to not even get 5 yards per target. That's less than 4.5 yards per target. So Knight actually did good. Woolen, you want to see a little bit better, I guess. 7 targets, 57 yards. Now, he did play well in other ways, so I'm not saying he played poorly, but I will say that this is not what we come to expect from Woolen, and it's not really what he needs to be able to do, because this is what he is all about. And part of the reason why his grade was so high is probably because he drew the OPI, which is great, but 57 yards on 7 targets from Woolen, I don't know, that's probably not, he's probably not happy with that. Josh Joby, 2 targets, 13 yards, really good, really happy with that. Julian Love, goose egg, got targeted twice, really awesome. So what he didn't do in run defense, he did in coverage. Rayshawn, no targets. Devin Witherspoon, 4 targets, 15 yards. Really, really good, really inefficient stuff for the offense. That's barely over 5 yards per target. Or, excuse me, it's not even, I'm sorry, 4 yards. It's actually less than 4 yards per target. Excuse me. I was thinking about receptions, but yeah. BruÄ Mafe, 1 reception, 6 yards, whatever. Ernest Jones is the one guy who really got lit up, and a lot of this was garbage time. So I'm going to say don't worry about this too much. And Pro Football Focus, you guys should know better. A lot of the stuff that Ernest Jones gave up was either at the end of the game when the game was completely over, or when the Seahawks had a big lead. So it doesn't mean as much as his interception in the first quarter, not even close. Y'all know better. So, yeah, the numbers look bad, but the context is not really that bad. So, something to think about. And special teams real quick. There's not a lot to say. Dixon graded out really well. Shout out to him playing through that bad back. AJ Barner and Derek Young were the 2 guys who got really good grades as coverage guys. And I think that's really about all there is to say. Nothing else really stands out. Nobody got a really bad grade, right? You like that. I think Jarran Reed got punished a little bit for that one play where he thought they fair caught it and they didn't. So that's why he got down to a 57. But even that wasn't that bad. So special teams clean. Good. Like it. All right. That's it for Pro Football Focus this week. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Maybe another video later today. If not, I'll see you guys on Twitch, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.